Good Saturday afternoon. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. I want to take a few minutes here to touch base on the two-prong system that we've got coming. A weak little wave tomorrow that I don't really expect a whole lot out of because it's going to start to lose its punch as it gets some of its energy gets absorbed into the main wave that'll arrive on Monday. But I want to touch base on how things are looking right now. It's probably not going to be good news for those of us who are snow lovers yet again, but there may be a bigger problem that we're going to be trying to dodge. Here's a look at the way things were at 1 p.m. And one of my things with looking at model data is I tend to look at where things really are versus where the models show them being. Most of the models were in pretty good agreement. I kind of made this little bit dumbed down version of this because when putting the model runs themselves up, there tends to be too much information on there to really translate, especially as most of us are looking at these videos on our phones. But this was kind of how things were set up by most of the model data this morning. We had and get my pointing tool on here. We have this low pressure that's up here that's kind of tracking off into Canada. And it's we have a real strong high pressure, about 1034 millibar high, that's actually farther north than what this illustrates. It's just kind of showing you the general direction. We had the first wave of our system that's sitting out over Colorado, and then the what will become the main low sitting down here in Mexico. And again, it's actually in a different location, but this was just to represent where it kind of is. And then parked right over us was a 1030 millibar high, according to the model data. At the time I started putting this stuff together, I looked up at my weather station and had exactly 1030 millibar pressure. So the model was pretty dead on. I looked at some of the data that was out, some of the METAR stations and things like that out here, and they were pretty dead on. Everything was pretty dead on with the models. So then it becomes they're initializing correctly. So that's a good place to start with them. And then you kind of look at what they're thinking is going to happen and whether it makes sense or not. And it does make sense, especially as the upper level low out over Southern California is exactly where they predicted it, and the way the storm track is laying out is kind of the way they predicted it. The thing that I was kind of questioning was they had a pretty decent southeast ridge developing, kind of down in here. I don't know if you can see my pointer or not, but they kind of had a southeast ridge developing down here off of the southeast coast. And I wasn't quite sure why they had that, but as I'm looking at the way things are developing, this high pressure that's sitting here over us right now is beginning to migrate. This high pressure up here in Canada is actually more expansive than what I could illustrate. It goes well up and over this low pressure, and then there's another high that's sitting kind of up in eastern Canada. And what's happening is this low pressure is moving out of the northern plains. It's kind of causing a divide. So instead of having a good solid suppressing block up here like we would want to see if we wanted snow, it's kind of caused, this low pressure is kind of causing a little bit of a divide. And as our high pressure migrates out to the kind of south and southeast, it's kind of going to merge with this eastern Canada high, and this eastern Canadian high is kind of just going to dissipate and give way to this high pressure. I guess I could show you that this was actual observations. I kind of jumped my own gun there, but this was just kind of actual observations of what was going on this morning. As far as this was from the College of DuPage Next Lab, and so again, it was just kind of showing that the pressures were where they were supposed to be. Again, it was kind of hard to illustrate what was going on in Canada because it really was off the screen, but I kind of forgot I'd put that slide in there. So here's the way the models have things turning out tomorrow, or actually by Monday, is again, this high pressure right here is what was over us, and it kind of absorbs a little bit of this eastern Canadian high pressure. This high pressure that's over Canada, the core of it strengthens and moves to the southeast. So it works to push things this way. This high pressure works to push things this way. This low pressure is going to squeeze right through the gap. And of course, that gap is right over Indiana. Once this gets past us, this high pressure up here actually begins to expand again and work as a suppressing high. So this low pressure is actually going to kind of curve back down, wrap around this northern part of this high pressure. So the eastern seaboard, probably going to get, some of them are going to get a good snow out of this thing. But us, the low pressure is going to track right over us. And it's what it's going to mean is either rain or freezing rain, maybe a little backside snow, but nothing of any significance. The things that could happen, none of this is set in stone because the atmosphere is always trying to balance itself out. So these pressures kind of give and take from each other, and because it tries to balance, but it can't, because of their spin and tilt and all that. But so it could be possible that maybe this the interaction between the eastern Canadian high pressure and the one that's departing our area right now, maybe it doesn't play out the way the models think, than the way it looks like it's trying to do. If this down here weakens, that can allow this low to move farther south and bring the snow farther south. If this up here strengthens, it can force things farther south. But the way it looks like they're playing out right now, it's going to stick it to us yet again here in central Indiana. And while I don't think we're going to have a lot of either cold air undercutting the warm air or warm air overriding the cold air at the surface, it can't totally be ruled out. So here's where we are right now. It looks like the heavy snow is going to be confined to northern Indiana, maybe even a little farther north than what this is. The models have it farther north than what I've got, but I still think that they're too far north for what I'm seeing, but not by a lot. So I'm thinking, somewhat Rensselaer to Fort Wayne and north is where you're going to find 3 to 6 inch snowfalls. Some areas could be heavier, especially up here in northwestern Indiana. I think the kind of Lafayette to Kokomo line is going to have some rain, maybe some moderate to even heavy ice, and probably get some snow as well. Maybe an inch or two. But again, the interaction in this, the gradient is so tight that it's impossible to know for sure how it's going to all interact. Again, if that high pressure to the north strengthens a little bit, it moves all this stuff to the south. If the high pressure to the southeast strengthens a little bit, then moves everything to the north. So it's impossible to know exactly how this is going to interact. So know that we're putting some lines on a map, but there's room for this stuff to shift north and south. This is just the way it looks right now. And so, again, we're thinking there could still be some accumulating snow from about Lafayette to Kokomo and north. And then in our area, it looks like what's going to happen is we're going to have potentially some freezing rain Monday morning that would then change over to rain Monday afternoon. How long the cold air lingers in our area is going to be huge. If it scoots on out as the rain moves in, then we can get lucky and just get all rain, no freezing rain, or very little freezing rain. If that cold air lingers a little bit, as some model data is indicating, then we could end up with an ice storm. So the threshold is really tight, and it's just impossible to know. One of the hardest things to forecast beyond snow is ice, because there's just such a fine threshold, and a lot of times you don't really know what it's going to do until it's already started or until it's about to start. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I do have some concerns that some areas within this red dotted circle that I've put on here, and maybe even a little beyond it, could be under the gun for some moderate to maybe even heavy ice, possibly reaching ice storm criteria. If that was going to happen and there were going to be major issues from it, it's going to be up here in this Lafayette Kokomo area, probably, where the cold air is going to stick around longer. In our area, it's possible we could pick up a tenth or two of ice, but then the temperatures warm up before it really has a chance to start wreaking any havoc. The longer the ice has a chance to hang on things, the longer it has to put pressure on power lines and all that. But if it falls on it, ices it over, and then it melts off quickly enough, then it can be a temporary nuisance. So hopefully, that's what we're going to be dealing with. But we'll fine tune all of that kind of stuff. Like I said, this can move north, it can move south. It all depends on how those high pressures interact with each other. Again, if one of them strengthens or weakens, that changes the storm track. And it also, the bigger concern would be if the high pressure in kind of eastern Canada lingers longer, that's where we could get some northeasterly breeze that kind of pumps in the colder air at the surface, and that's where we could get the ice storm. So we kind of want to see that high pressure either strengthen enough to give us snow or just fade away and give us rain. But we'll update this stuff as it progresses. This is how it looks right now as of Saturday afternoon. Still a lot of uncertainty, but right now for Madison County, if you love snow, it looks like it's going to stick it to us again. So hopefully we can just keep rain and avoid the ice and call it a day. There's another system around Thursday. There's some indications that that system may sweep off to our south yet again. It's possible that it could come across here, but I'm not sold on it, especially if this system tracks the way it looks like it's going to. Then the follower, which would be Wednesday into Thursday, will track to our south, and we'll end up in the snow nut hole yet again. And beyond that, the next system to even remotely consider might be around February 4th or 5th. But again, there's a good chance that goes northwest. I've targeted this system for 3 weeks, saying that what this system did was likely going to tell us our fate for much of the rest of the winter. And unfortunately, it looks like the broken record's going to continue of systems north, systems south. And we could always get lucky. Again, I think I mentioned in a previous video, we've had a couple of winters, 2006 and 7 kind of sticks in my mind, where it was just a horrible winter. And then wham, right in the middle of February, we had a blizzard. So right before Valentine's Day. And that was really one of the only major snows we had that entire winter. So, crazy things can happen, but as far as a sustained pattern, it's become painfully obvious. We're not going to get sustained cold. We're not going to get sustained snowy pattern. We're just going to remain in it's a crapshoot, and maybe we, roll the lucky numbers for a snowstorm at some point, but not holding my breath. So with that, I will let you go, and we'll update as this system sets itself up more. Again, I don't expect much of an impact with ice tomorrow morning. I think most of that would be light and would be to our south, but we can't rule out a passing, freezing drizzle or snow flurry activity tomorrow morning. So again, we'll monitor that stuff. The bigger impact is going to be Monday, and we'll see how that all looks when we get into the day tomorrow. So for now, this is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates. And thank you all for following us. Thank you to those of you who have been able to financially support us. That's greatly appreciated. Hopefully we can start expanding service and do even bigger things for the county. And if you haven't visited Madison County Weather or madcoweather.com, please do so. I'm waiting on my address labels to show up to really begin mass mailings to more businesses and see what we can come up with there. Again, thank you all, and we will talk to you later.